We had a massive buff today, and I am excited to talk about it, because I haven't. Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock, and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video. I am very, very excited today because one of my kind of favorite mythicals and one of the few that I've managed to pull is getting a buff, and I'm very excited about it. There was another buff as well for Ogren, which is Diamant Copper Coin, but I don't have the screen grab of his buffs. I also don't have the champion, so I can't really relate about how good those buffs may or may not be. This is why I haven't really covered a lot of buffs in the past, because if I don't have a champion, I don't feel like I'm in a good position to really give you my thoughts on the buff, because how am I supposed to know, right? Like if they buff a champion that I've never used before in the game, I can't really tell you if it's any good. So I don't really have any input on Diamant. I've seen mixed reviews from other content creators, so it's kind of a little all over the place about the changes that they made. But what I want to talk about today is a champion that I have. I've got him right here. Listen up, I just got a new promo link that you can use to follow along with me on my latest free-to-play adventure and get a free Elenaril, as well as 3 more powerful epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Log out of Plarium Play and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Don't miss out on your chance to get Elenaril right after signing up, as well as Fayne, Uugo, and Tagoar as you progress through Raid. Click on my link right now and let's crush this together. Androc the Glorious, we are going to get to take a look at his buff today. Androc, I like a lot. I've already liked him before the buff, and I want to kind of make that clear. Now, there are a few things that I don't like about him, and some of the changes, I've already looked at them. They have fixed some. They've just taken the kits that he currently has and made them better, which is good. That's kind of what you expect from a buff, but I would have liked some better changes personally as somebody who uses the champion, and we're going to talk about some of the issues that I have. So first things first, let's start just reading off the kit, and I'll kind of give my opinion as we go. So Pride's Bite, that is going to be the A1 right here. The old A1 attacked one enemy, placed 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 1 turn. The new one does the same thing, but the damage multiplier is increased. Now, this is questionable about what that's going to be. How much more damage are we expecting to get out of this is a big deal, right? I would love for it to hit very hard as an additional damage dealer and a support, but as it stands right now, this does not hit particularly hard. So, we'll have to wait and see. They haven't done anything with the A2, which is Radiant Claw. It's an AoE hit that buffs your buffs and heals allies by their 4% of their max HP for every buff on them that had its duration increased. They didn't do anything to that. But for the A3, the old version places a 50% increased resistance buff and a 25% strengthen buff and a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. Places an additional 15% continuous heal buff on all allies with less than 50 HP for 2 turns. Now, the new version adds all those same buffs and the additional continuous heal, but it also fills turn meter by 15%. Now, I want to be clear, I don't know that extra 15% is gonna be as good. I just want to be honest. Now, I could be completely wrong, but let's finish the changes on the first form, and then I'll kind of go into it a little bit more. But I have my reservations about that turn meter, and we'll talk about it in a second, because you have to understand the whole kit to really get the premise. So then the passive also changed. So the old passive increased Androc's resistance by 10 for each buff on each ally, and then critical hits inflicted by allies fill the turn meters of all allies by 5%, occurs once per skill. Now, they changed this to that each allies' resistance is increased by 10 for each buff on all allies. And then the critical hits thing stays the same. Now, if we talk about the base form, the main way that I currently use Androc is as a turn meter battery. So every time somebody gets a critical hit, they are pumping out turn meter for me. And I don't really use him in his second form. In the areas that I use him, he is specifically on, I want to say it's one of my Hydra teams, which I have to do still. So this is the Brutal team here, and you can see I have him paired up with my Harima. He is my turn meter battery and my increased defense champion for this team. So he gives Harima her increased defense, and he gets increased attack from Elva, I think, gives it. Just check. Oh, so apparently I don't have an increased attack for Thor in this team. Oh, wait, he self-buffs. Yeah, okay, forgot about that. All right, anyways, that's why Androc, I like pairing him with Harima in my Hydra team in particular, because he brings that increased defense for Harima, which on my account is actually surprisingly rare. I don't have a lot of really good increased defenses, I should say. Like, I've got Mithrala, of course, but with the Hex champions that I have on the account, she has kind of fallen off as valuable for me in Hydra in particular. But so I really like pairing Androc there. But let's talk about the issue that I have with him and that extra turn meter. So when you use him, he pumps out so much turn meter, like a massive amount of turn meter, because every time someone takes a turn, we're getting 5% turn meter, right? And when you consider speeds and everything, like it can be a lot, because they're getting 5% and then someone takes a turn, so then they're getting whatever percentage that they would fill up anyways because of their speed. You get a lot of turns with an Androc in his base form. My one concern about the changes that they've made with the extra turn meter, that 15% turn meter when he buffs, is that and again, this is just a minor concern. The one concern that I have is that you're already going to have so much turn meter, and so he's going to fill your turn meter that's already potentially full or near full in some cases. There's added value here because I think this has increased his value as a support in other areas of the game. For example, I could see him being incredibly valuable in Arena, for instance, because you could use him as a lead. He is getting 115 speed. He's currently 110 speed. He's going to get up to 115 speed, so he's going to get a speed boost, which is very good. So you could build him super fast. You could build him in protection, is how I currently have him built and how I would keep him built that way. And then you're bringing all of these buffs as well as an increased defense on the A1, and you're extending and healing those buffs. And with the increased resistance and the new buff where everyone is getting huge resistances, that could be very, very valuable, especially in a time where bombs are so prevalent. I can actually really see some value in this really heavy, fast resistance increased champion. Now, granted, it's not as good when you consider that we're going up against mythical bombs in a lot of cases with Commodus, and he can just ignore resistance. So it's not super great, but if you're going up against something like a Nishak, for example, I think Androc is going to be a very useful tool going into something like that, because you will get that increased resistance and stuff. Now, this brings me to the other issue that I kind of have here with the champion as a whole, and that is the fact that the buffs he's bringing are not that great. Even though I just talked about how useful increased resistance could be, you know what's better than increased resistance? Block debuffs, right? Block debuffs is just better than increased resistance. And Strengthen's fine. I love Strengthen. I have no issues with Strengthen. That's very useful buff. But I truly question how much of an impact these changes make to the kit. He's still, in my opinion, just a turn meter battery in this form. Extra damage is good, very good, because he doesn't do a lot, so it's nice to have a champion that can bring some extra damage. For me, I would have at least liked to have seen maybe a 2-turn on this increased defense instead of a 1-turn. To be completely honest with you, that's one thing I would have liked to have seen changed as well. But, you know, I'm happy about the changes. It just feels like they're taking what he's already good at and just making it better in this form. So that's fine. I mean, that's probably what most people expect out of a buff like this. But as somebody who uses Androc so freaking much, I just don't know that it really changes the overall impact of the champion. But I would love for it too. I just wish we could get, because resistance, that's my only issue. It's like increased resistance. That's great for PvE content. Like, that's awesome. Maybe that's what they're looking for, right? Because you know what resistances you need. So you can have, and like, this could get really high numbers of resistance as well. Like, that's the other thing. This can go very, very big with especially when you have 5 other champions. Like in Hydra, you can really get high resistances, which I would be thrilled about. But block buffs, it's just a guaranteed thing sometimes, right? So I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. I won't really know for sure until I get a chance to test it. This does book down to a 3-turn cooldown, so you are getting that increased turn meter every 3 turns, which is really good. But again, I just wonder, like, am I just filling up the turn meter of champions that are already full, or am I going to get more value out of it? So I don't know. We will find out. I just wanted to list my concerns, but we won't know until we actually get to try them out when these buffs go live. Now, let's move on to the alternate form, the A1. Everything kind of does the opposite of what the base form does. So the A1, instead of giving increased defense, places a 1-turn decreased defense. And again, and there's only a 50% chance, and it's also staying a 50% chance. I just want to emphasize this a little bit here. This is a mythical champion. Yes, they have a decreased defense on an A1, which is very good, but it's a 50% chance of happening, and it's only for 1 turn. Yes, their only change that they're making to this is increasing the damage multiplier, and I think it needed more than that. I truly think it needed more than that. This is a mythical champion. That should be 100% chance to land a 1-turn or a 50% chance to land a 2-turn, in my opinion, for a mythical champion. Especially when you consider, like, who are you replacing with Androc? What debuffer are you taking out to put Androc in? Well, if we look at the rest of his kit, we can kind of get there. So for the A2, we have decreased resistance, weaken, and enfeeble. Enfeeble doesn't work on bosses, so this is really going to be more of a wave or PvP thing, and that kind of ties into what I'm talking about, right? But the other changes are going to be also decreases turn meter by 15%. Now that is a massive change for areas like PvP, right? Being able to reduce that turn meter by 15% is actually very valuable in a lot of cases. But again, it's one of those things where you have to build, like, what are you really building him for? Are you building him for a base form or the alternate form? And if you're building him for the alternate form, he can place enfeeble, decrease resistance, and weaken, but there's no buff strip starter with that. And the buff strip that he has is on a different ability, so it's kind of difficult to get in there when you're going up against Stone Skin, right? So you're not really gonna be able to get value out of that. You're not gonna decrease their turn meter, and you're not gonna land any of these debuffs. So a lot of champions now that you're really using as debuffers are also stripping and then doing something. So think of like Fabian, right? Fabian strips and puts their stuff on cooldown, right? And so, you know, I just don't know how much of an impact this is going to have by the only, you know, but it is going to do more damage. And again, we don't know what that multiplier will look like, but that could be good. And then decreasing the turn meter of all enemies. So yeah, again, I just don't know what it's going to look like, but knowing how I've used him and what he does, it does give me a little bit of concern. But let's keep reading and see, and then we'll kind of do an overall review of the kit. So now for the A3, used to remove all buffs from all enemies, deals pure damage to each enemy equal to 5% of the target's max HP for each buff removed. This damage cannot be critical. And then puts block buffs on all enemies without buffs for 2 turns. So now it's upgraded to removes all buffs from all enemies, then attacks all enemies. If the target is a boss, the damage inflicted is equal to 10% of their max HP, and then places block buffs and damage multiplier changed. Here's kind of an issue too, is that it only does max HP if it's a boss. I mean, they've changed the damage multiplier, so I suppose multiplier is good for the defense part of the damage, and it also does it, you know, and then it has a chance to do enemy max HP if it's a boss. That could be really good for damage-based stuff, but my question that I have, you know, what is going to be more damage? 15% of a target's max HP that get critical, or his new buffed damage out? And if his new buffed damage output is insane, great. If the new buffed damage output is bad, then I don't know, you know, if it's worse, we don't know, but if it's worse than you know, removing 3 buffs and doing 15% damage. But it also can be critical now, which is something that it didn't have before. So it can be critical. It does its damage based on defense, and it no longer deals pure damage either. If you're looking to do damage with this in PvP, you're likely going to need to have ignore defense and stuff, you know, so you're really not looking for damage out of this in PvP or wave clear or anything like that. This is just a buff strip. Yeah, I just don't know how I feel about those changes. Just got to be honest with you, right? Like it all depends, and I could be completely wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I love this champion. I want to be wrong, but it is a pretty big concern about the way that they kind of changed the wording here, that they could have actually made the ability somewhat worse in a couple of ways. I assume they tested, and I hope that's not the case, but it'll be very interesting to see how it really shakes out. So on to the very last ability. Increases the champion's accuracy by 10 for each buff on each enemy. Each critical hit inflicted by allies decreases the turn meters of all enemies by 5%. That's going to change to increases each ally's accuracy by 10, each buff on all enemies, and then each critical hit inflicted by allies decreases the turn meters of all enemies by 5%, and they've added that only one champion will do this. So I like the changes to the passives. Those are very, very good changes, and I don't want to overshadow those. The increase in accuracy on the whole team for whatever buffs are on the enemy team is good, but it is worth noting that if you strip all those buffs, your team no longer has that accuracy. And so that can be counterintuitive in some ways, because you're going to, you know, you may want to strip. The way I'd like to play Androc is to have this multi-tool. So just imagine that you're going into arena and you don't exactly know what to expect. And so you may have a situation where you may get in there and you see, oh, they have all stone skin and I only have a 50% chance to strip that. I want to land decrease resistance, weaken, and enfeeble, but I can't right now. So I'll stay in form 1, right? I'll boost the turn meter of my team and give them a bunch of really good buffs that are protected, maybe, you know, cool, great, right? Or maybe you get into an arena and you see that, oh, they don't have stone skin. Okay, well, if they don't have stone skin, let me go ahead and place decreased resistance, weaken, and enfeeble on them so that they can't crit my guys. That's going to be really good for me, right? Or maybe they don't have stone skin, but they might have other buffs or something that you might want to strip, maybe. Or maybe you see specifically like, oh, they're going faster than my Armands or my bomb champion. I don't want them to land block debuffs, so let me place up block buffs on them, and you go ahead and do that. So like, that's what I want him to really be, and it sounds like that's what we're going to get. So I am overall very, very happy, but I have my reservations, and it's all based on the way that reads with what they kind of told us about. Who knows, right? Like these could be really, really good buffs, and we could see very, very exciting things from Androc. I still feel like I'll mostly be using him in his base form as a turn meter battery, just getting everybody to go. I like that a lot. That's how I currently use him, and my current build on him is 9-piece protection. I am excited about the speed boost as well. That extra 5 speed is going to be pretty good, and I will likely be able to maybe even put better gear on him if he's going to be better overall. I'm very happy about the changes. I want to be very, very clear about that. I have been a little bit cautious with some of the changes that they've made, but it's just the way that they read, and I think it has more to do with the way that they're describing it in this than what we will actually see from him in action. And yeah, I'm also with Journal too. Now I get even more percentage boost. So yeah, could be really, really good. I hope they're really, really good because I really, really like this champion. In fact, I love this look. His A2, I don't talk about it enough because I have other champions that I like more. But this A2 look, the whole lion head, golden lion thing, is gorgeous. This looks so well done, so good, and I would love to be able to get more use out of Androc than what I'm currently using him as. But yeah, that is everything that I have, guys. And that's all we're going to talk about today. Longer video too, surprisingly long video, so I'm going to end it pretty quickly here. Sorry about that. I kind of let it get away from me a little bit because I was so passionate about Androc, so I do apologize for that. But I want to say, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I super appreciate it. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Take care.